which reminded her she had to wake her nephew Herman. They hadn't wanted to take him and his coffin along to Washington. Her dull-witted kin wanted to become a vampire and was practicing sleeping during the daytime. Stephanie played the country folk tunes of long ago, and they evoked in Ankal memories of pleasant times, and she sighed. That night, as Ankal dreamt, Stephanie gathered her dreams in a basket made of spider web and hurried with them back to the wizard. He examined them using the dream app on his whiz-pad. He told the prince and Zarpi that there was so much longing in those dreams for the past that he expected Ankal would do something about it. He didn't tell him about Ankal's dream of the snake and the kitten. Zarpi had an idea. She researched the Oxford Witchcraft Dictionary for spells used to move through time and found that they all required the powdered bloom of the black rhododendron of Willets, a difficult ingredient to come by. She just happened to have some. She'd bought it during a remainder sale at the Wallblack store. The wizard dispatched Stephanie to continue to fill Ankal's mind with longings for the past. It put Ankal off her regular routines. Normally on Tuesdays she collected beetles and scorpions, but forgot all about doing so. She even forgot to load the wetware upgrade for her cauldron. Late one morning the FredX truck pulled up and delivered a parcel. It contained the dried powder of the black rhododendron of Willets. Ankal was puzzled. She hadn't ordered it, but having it, she would certainly put it to use. Soon she was sailing through the air in her mortar and pestle, headed to the Trader Merlins store. She always went there with a shopping list, but couldn't resist all the impulse items. Along with what she intended to buy, she came back with a clear plastic box filled with dark chocolate horseflies. Yum! As the cauldron boiled and bubbled, Stephanie played the main theme from Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake Ballet. As it had also been the title music for Dracula with Bela Lugosi, it gave the sleeping Herman some really neat dreams. Well, neat to him. Your experience may vary. In good time, Ankal was ready to call upon the spirits of customer service to aid her. She had tuned cowbells her mother had left her. Ring 1 for enchantment, Ring 2 for test marketing, Ring 3 for social networking, Ring 4 for election polls, Ring 5 to download a spell, Ring 6 for time travel. She rang 6 and an elf wearing a name tag that said Marvin Stewart appeared. He raised his eyebrows, shook his dyed blonde hair, curled his lip, and said, "You can't be serious, dear. Nowadays no one does magic in a cast-iron cauldron. At the very least you need stainless steel with a copper bottom. I can get you a discount on one at Fate and Marrow. This week they're also on special at Death, Graves, and Beyond." Ankal said nothing. Then she made a hideous face and said, "How'd you like a rain of hot sparks to land on your velvet tunic?" Immediately he screamed, "Elf abuse, elf abuse." Eventually they got down to business. He ran a checklist on the ingredients and found they were all there. There was some discussion over whether it was better to use English or metric units. It wasn't really an issue, as even Marvin had to agree that a spell calling for handfuls of this and pinches of that didn't conform to either system. The cauldron had bubbled contentedly as each ingredient was added, but when the powdered blossom from the black rhododendron of Willets went in, a vapor arose. In that vapor was a hooded figure in a robe that was half black and half white. Depending on how the spectre turned, it could seem to be one or the other. Finally it spoke. "Who has called me?" "It is I, Ankal." "What would you have me do?" "Take me back to where I was born." There was silence for a moment. Then the spectre spoke again. "Would you be as you were, or will you be as you are?" Ankal said, "I would be a child again." The shape of the spectre seemed to vibrate a bit. It reached into its robe and took out some sort of handheld device and tapped on its screen with a bony finger. "I can send you back as you are, but I see you've sent another back. To restore your youth, I will need to bring that other one forward." Marvin piped in. Intertemporal Commerce Commission rules. Ankal was looking more and more frustrated. Okay, Jose, just do it. As you wish. In Thelma's hut, she and the princess and Cedar were sitting at a table eating mutton stew. Suddenly the princess stood up and asked where her clothes were, meaning the ones she'd originally worn. Thelma pointed at the wicker chest. Princess Irene got up and took off her homespun clothes and put on her finery. Cedar was very impressed with her elegance. Like most little girls, she thought looking like a princess was a big deal. Then suddenly there was a shimmer and a sparkle, and the princess was gone, and in her place was a girl about Cedar's age. Zarpi was in her office lab mixing up a forgetfulness potion for a banker who was to appear before a committee on mortgage fraud. Minerva, her white owl, sat atop Zarpi's magic mirror. It had recently been rigged by Isaac for witch-fi. Minerva hooted and Zarpi looked up. There was the image of Isaac surrounded by his computer kludge. What's up, Isaac? We've just recorded a Class 1 materialization at the castle. It appears to be in the quarters of the princess. Thanks, I'd better get up to the castle. Yes, the Princess Irene was back in her own bedroom. It was just as she remembered it, with one exception. Apparently, in her absence, the steward had still been placing a chocolate on her pillow each night. But her ladies-in-waiting had been eating them and dropping the wrappers all over her Persian carpet. She assumed that her maid service had been stopped. Isaac also notified the wizard, who got word to Prince Brian. He cautioned him not to get his hopes up until Zarpi had investigated. Nonetheless, the prince told his page to saddle his trusty steed and have Curly, Mo, and Larry, his personal guard, be ready to accompany him. Zarpi was ushered into the castle and taken to the Princess Irene, who was obviously still shaken by her sudden transition and the recovery of her memory. She told Zarpi about her life as a peasant, tending animals and spinning wool, and about her companion Cedar, who had taught her so much. It had been about as far from her life as a princess as possible, yet it made her sympathetic for those who must do so much with so little. Back in the past, Cedar didn't know what to think. One moment she'd been staring at her new friend wearing an elegant dress. Now here was this child dressed all in black. Finally the stranger spoke. With a twisted smile she said, "Where's the mall?"